The inheritance I received was from a friend of my grandma's. Basically, my grandma passed away when I was 4 years old. I have several pictures from when I was little where I am wearing crocheted cardigans that my grandma made for my sister and I. We still have these cardigans, but 25 years later they are not in the best condition. My sister found out she was pregnant with my niece and said that it would be really cute if I could make some more cardigans for her. I'm the only person in my family that crochets. I thought it would be a brilliant idea, and my mum and I looked through all my grandma's old things to try and find the pattern for the cardigan my sister really liked. Well, we couldn't find it, but my mum remembered that my grandma and her friend used to share crochet patterns, so maybe it was one of hers. We live in a fairly small town, so I reached out to some of the older members of the local church to see if they knew if my grandma's friend was still local or not. She would have been in her late 80s at this point, so there was a good chance she was still around. Well, I found her, and I gave her a call, and she invited me round for a cup of tea and to pick up the patterns. This was 5 years ago. Over the years I've visited her at least once a month. She has gifted me several of her patterns, as her daughters don't crochet. My mum and I have become good friends with her daughters. She has met my niece several times and I've crocheted various items for her great-grandchildren. She unfortunately passed away in January 2020. She left me a fairly large sum of money in her will, approx £25k. Her daughters were happy with this, as they said that I was a good friend to her and she had told them that she wanted to help me financially, but knew I wouldn't accept the money when she was still alive. Which is true. When I got the money I paid off some debt I had, paid off my sister's car finance, and put the rest in savings so I can look at getting a house in the future. My uncle, my mum's brother, has recently found out that I received an inheritance from this lady. He thinks I was being sneaky by not telling him that I got the money. He believes that the only reason I got the money was because she was friends with my grandma and she would have wanted the money to go to her 3 grandchildren, myself, my sister and cousin. I have received a letter from my uncle on my cousin's behalf says that they are going to take me to court for fraud and theft if I don't give my cousin his rightful share. It was recorded delivery, which was a little weird. Am I the idiot for not wanting to give him the money, even though I know part of the reason she left me the money was because I'm my grandma's granddaughter? Not the idiot. What does your cousin have to do with anything in this scenario? No relationship to the friend of your grandma. They are chasing after money, and I would look to lawyer up just in case. Like others have said, check and ask for legal advice on what to do. What do they mean by rightful share? It was specifically given to you, not them. Your uncle is greedy and poorly informed. The reason that letter did not come from a solicitor is because there is no legal recourse for breaking the will. He's attempting to get the money by threatening to sue. He's hoping the fear of a lawsuit will make you share the money. The mental gymnastics required to think the cousin deserves the money is Olympics level. That being said, the registered mail thing is a very clear indication that they plan to try to fight. I personally doubt they'll be successful, but of course I don't have all the facts. Just be aware, which means do not talk about the situation at all with anyone, not even the cat, until you consult a local probate attorney. Update. Thank you all for your advice. I've been trying to read all the comments, so I'll try to answer some of the questions here. I told my mum about the letter I received and she is absolutely fuming. Neither my mum or my sister have talked to my uncle or anyone else about the inheritance. Although my friend's family very kindly mentioned me in the obituary in our local paper, so maybe he looked into it from that. She was a very rich woman, so maybe he thinks I got more than I did. As far as I am aware, my friend only knew about my cousin in the sense that she was aware that my uncle had a son. My cousin was about 6 months old when my grandma passed, so I don't think my friend ever met him either. I'm well aware that my uncle is very entitled. He made a great fuss over my grandma's will, demanded he get a bigger share as he was the most in need. My uncle is the head teacher of a primary school and owns several properties, so he is not a stupid man, nor is he in financial need. Either way, he's pissed off the wrong people. My mum gave me the contact details of a probate lawyer in the next town, and I've given him a call this morning. Apparently my uncle went to school with him, and the lawyer was left with a less than favorable impression of him. So he said that he would gladly put a response together for me. He said a cease and desist letter should do the trick. He laughed for a good couple of minutes when he heard what my uncle was threatening. I, 30, had a girlfriend in college who got pregnant when she was 19 and I was 20. I freaked out and, wrongly, blamed her for everything and said there was no way I wanted to be a dad. I said I would take no part in anything, wouldn't sign the birth certificate, and wouldn't pay child support. My dad said I'd have to sign my rights away, or she could take me to court for a paternity test and child support anyway. So I told her I was going to do that, and she didn't fight me. Fast forward to present day. I had an accident a few years ago that has made it impossible for me to father any children. This was a hard blow to my wife, and our marriage has struggled as I'm not willing to adopt, but she wants children. She knows I fathered a kid when I was younger, so I thought I'd contact my ex about seeing them, and maybe my wife would be happy in a stepmom role. My ex said no, and when I protested she basically told me tough luck. I said they were my kid, and she said actually he's not. I signed my rights away, so I had no children as far as the law, and she was concerned. My kid has a real dad and a life, and I've never been part of it, and I never will be. I was so angry I started yelling about taking her to court for custody, and she wished me the very best of luck in that endeavor and hung up. I was venting to my brother, and he said no judge worth his weight in salt would give me custody or even regular visitation after a decade of no contact just because I suddenly found myself sterile and wanted to appease my wife. I didn't want a kid, so I don't have a kid. He also said I'm not treating him like an actual person, and did I even once stop to consider the fact he wouldn't even know who I was, only that he'd been forced to go stay with someone who didn't want him. I got upset and stopped talking to him. I shouldn't have threatened to go for custody and I admit that, but people are acting like I've done the worst thing ever by even contacting my ex, so I thought I'd ask, am I really such an idiot? Yep. You are. You were the idiot and you still are the idiot. You bailed on your kid. Now your wife wants one and your thought process is, I have one in storage. You don't want your first child because he's your child and you want him for him. You want contact to appease your wife because you've made the executive decision that you don't want to adopt. You are the idiot in so many ways, both past and present. Seriously. She's right. You had your chance to be a father and you chose to reject it. You don't get to reject your child and then drop back into their life when you feel like it suits you. The fact that you care more, actually solely, about your own feelings than how this would affect your child pretty much shows that you aren't a real father. You are the idiot to infinity and beyond. Listen to your brother, cause he's not lying. That child is not a solution to your self-made problem, they are a person. With a life. You choose not to be a part of. You already have a solution to being childless, and that's adoption. I assume you don't like that the kid won't be a blood relation. Even bigger idiot. Another solution is have your brother donate and have your wife carry. But most importantly, before anything, get your head out of your butt and get some therapy. My friend Laura, a mom of 4 children, 3 boys and the youngest being a girl. Her and her husband continued having children after the first boy because they desperately wanted a little girl and were willing to have up to 6 children to do that. They consider themselves lucky for only having to have 4. Ages 10 to 1-year-old. So, Laura is stay-at-home mom and I work nights. When I get off I'll help her a few times a week. Going with them to the park, took the boys to a local Renaissance fair, so Laura would have time to herself with the baby, laser tag, etc. I enjoy doing these things, and they've often said that they think of me as their aunt. It means a lot to me because I don't have children. The oldest boy is starting middle school at a slightly younger age and came to me for advice. I'm proud of everything he said, but asked why he didn't have this talk with his mother, and he said that she was more preoccupied with a baby girl. Later in the day Laura and I are relaxing, and I tell her the boy's issues and advice I gave, and she was irritated and asked why he didn't have that moment with her. I reiterated what he said and told that it's understandable that a baby need a bit more of her time. She was visibly hurt and asked me to be completely honest with what I thought about her having multiple children. I was honest and told her I folded selfish. She had 3 perfectly healthy boys in hopes that one would be a girl she could have adopted, and instead her husband works 2 jobs 50-hour weeks to support them, but I also know that it was his choice to do this as well. She was fuming, told me I would never understand unless I was mother, and that she could never love a foster or adopted kid as much as her own. This made me cry because I'm foster kid that aged out of the system and she's aware of it. She called me an idiot for that and told me to leave. It's been about a week and she's called me multiple times and left voicemail apologizing, saying that she really needs the help with the boys. I feel like an idiot, I love them, and I'm happy they were born and feel like crap if I implied otherwise, but I'm hurt that I wasn't cared for a child and that there are so many others that won't have the chance because of that mindset. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You were asked a question and answered it truthfully. She wasn't prepared for your answer, but that is not on you. She also reacted terribly and is calling you now for help, which makes me question her reasoning for the apology. Does she genuinely not believe what she said in the moment, or is she drowning in children and needs you on her side? Your friend asked you to be honest and then got pissed when your honesty didn't match up with what she wanted to hear. Then she doubled down on her idiotness by taking a jab at your personal history, knowing it would hurt you. And then to have the nerve to try and get you to come back because she needs help with her children, that's some bullcrap. If she would have prefaced her apology as not wanting to lose you as a friend and she feels terrible about how she hurt you, that would be understandable. But she's basically apologizing because she lost her free babysitter. Not the idiot. She asked for your honesty and you gave it. She's upset because deep down she knows you're right. Now she's apologizing because she needs your help. She sounds like a user to me. In addition, she's jealous of the time you're spending with the boys, even though she's been ignoring them for the baby girl. The boys feel it too. Yes, she is selfish. My 27 wife, 26, and I have been together since 2012. We started dating young and got married at 23. It was the greatest decision of my life. She means the world to me and then some, and I love this woman. We've helped each other grow over the years, and about a year ago we decided to start trying for a baby. A year later and no luck. So my wife made an appointment with her doctor and found out that there's a 99.9% chance that she'll not be able to conceive naturally and that IVF is our best and only real option. So we started looking into the cost of that, and we cannot swing it with our own money. We just bought a house together. We don't have any extra spending money, though we both have great jobs. So, I decided I'd go to my mother and ask her if she would pay for it or loan us the money because she paid for my older sister to have IVF done 2 years ago. She laughed in my face. Told me she only paid for my sister's because that's her real daughter and that my girlfriend should ask her mom. She knows she passed away. She was being a smart butt. She suggested I find another wife that has a working reproductive system. Keep in mind, my parents are very wealthy people. I know they can afford it and it wouldn't make a dent in their wallet. They just don't want to help us. She's always had some personal vendetta against my wife, dare I say it's because she's not fully white. So I told them I was done with them, that the comments they made were disgusting and that they should be treating my wife like she's their daughter. That this is for me as well, and that it's bullcrap. Family friends are now siding with my parents, saying that they understand why she'd pay for my sister's IVF, but not mine and my wife's. Am I the idiot for cutting them off for refusing to help us when they helped my sister? Not the idiot. Your mother sounds like an idiot if you don't mind me saying. Laughing in your face, commenting on the fact that your wife's mother has passed away, telling you to marry someone working, those are some pretty nasty comments. And if she paid for her daughter, she should also help her son out. Your mother sounds horrible. This isn't the only reason you're cutting her off. The way you describe it makes it seem like she's generally fairly heartless. Snide remarks about dead parents aren't funny. Telling you to find a wife with working reproductive system is abhorrent. Regardless of paying for IVF or not, if your mother is how you describe her, then cutting off her toxicity seems best. Your mum is rude as hell and should really help if she can. However, if you've bought a house and have good jobs, then you can afford it yourself eventually. You manage to get the money together to buy a house which isn't cheap, so even if it takes a year or two, you will be able to afford it, then you don't have to have anything to do with her. I, 52, have one son, 17, and one daughter, 30. My daughter graduated from her local university with a master's degree in business and has a small startup that has grown quite tremendously. She is engaged and the major breadwinner in her relationship, which makes me quite proud. My son, on the other hand, he is less academically interested. Throughout high school he wanted to take only art and music courses. I didn't allow him to, and unfortunately had to resort to the my house my rules. However, he says now that he is going to university, he doesn't have to listen to me and that he'll move out to one of his friends if I try the my house my rules crap as he calls it. He says that he is going to an art university and that he has already sent out applications to several and gotten offers. So, I did the only thing I could, revoking my offer of paying for his university. It breaks my heart, but I feel like I have no choice. I told my son that either he gets a degree that will enable him to have a good chance at getting a job he can live off of, or he can find some other way to pay. My son was understandably pissed when I told him this. He called me a horrible father and stormed off to his room. Before you flood the comments with "you are the idiot," hear out my reasoning. I did the same thing my son wants to do, got an art degree, against the wishes of my parents. I was young and excited, but it was not to be. Art and music weren't paying my bills, and I got into astronomical debt. Then I was evicted from my apartment and I was homeless for a year. I had to drag myself back to my parents and beg them to pay for me to go to university again, this time to get a business degree. I got one, graduated again, and got an office job, and worked hard until I got promotions. Then I met my late wife, and we had the kids. So you see, I just don't want my son to make the same mistakes I did. I want him to be able to hold his head high, knowing he can pay his own way and start a family if he so pleases. I don't want to be controlling, but he needs to put his head on straight and do what's best for him. So, am I the idiot for this? You're the idiot. You're controlling and it sounds like you've been this way for a long time. It doesn't matter that you failed at your art career. Maybe he'll succeed, maybe he'll fail. But being forced to study something he has no interest in won't help him, and having to take on a bunch of debt to follow his dream also won't help him. You're in the process of destroying your relationship with your son just because you think your limited life experience makes you the expert on everything. I love the end. I don't want to be controlling, but you are being very controlling. You're the idiot. Let him pursue his passion. If he fails and didn't listen to you, then he has to pay his own way. If this is how he wants to spend his one free try, let him. And based on your wording it sounds like you love your daughter more and show it. Be careful because you may lose him either way. Your experience as a failed artist is worth sharing with him so that he can make an informed decision, and of course it's natural that you'd worry he might experience a similar path. But there are people who lose a fortune in the business world, and that didn't affect your willingness to pay for your daughter's business degree. As long as your son understands he gets one chance to spend the money you saved up for his university, if he chooses to spend it at art school, that's a valid and awesome choice. Artists rock.